Been a long time.
And look at how y'all City Hall and the water bills now. I saw where some people were fussing. I paid my water bill, debit card got canceled. And I was crap.
Well, we use a third party.
I know that I understand that they can't do it anyway, but that's how crazy people are.
I know.
I mean, they're unhinged. My wife said, they can't, there's no way that they get them numbers. I mean, you know. I had this Walmart somewhere. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, like, my husband drives the truck, and actually, him, like, I think he was 4 years old.
Yeah, my wife's had three, like 6 months.
That's a lot.
Just I think it's a number thing, maybe they're running on the computer, and when it hits, then it's a card.
Yeah.
Well, you should have an organization where you are, and we did. Yeah, well, I believe you guys did.
We're not, I don't know.
Might need you sometime. Thank you.
All this room for another peanut butter pretzel.
And I talked to and I'm gonna try to get with them again, he's ready to tie in all the way in the Sterling, into our band member and everything. It's too interesting.
My dog's out here, she's without the lawn, she's just running on the house.
I'll look at the map, see where y'all come out there, right?
Oh, yes.
Probably.
I probably borders this property. I see what I do.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all it takes, an idea. So,
The telescoping site. Map. Right now.
We're here. I know. We see each other all the time.
For the most part, it's, just the stuff. We have one section that I'm starting to clear out. Where I feed them and they graze that here. We go out out there and feed them. Get two of them, one in the front. That needs to be, and then one of them in the back.
Well, we just were. Somewhere else.
Like we have GPS. Did you install it yourself? Oh, so it is basically a distance, it's like a circumference.
And then they like my chickens are here. I don't want to the building.
I think we were looking at this for hours, but for some reason, we didn't go with it. Because we don't like traditional, we finish it out very long. Oh, yeah,
I'm surprised they had that.
Yes.
also.
Got one, so.
Good evening, everyone. Top mic. We're going to go ahead and call this work session to order. The clerk, if you would call the roll.
Councilperson Chapman? Councilperson Bell? Councilperson Bell? Councilperson McIntyre? Councilperson Davis? Mayor Pro Tem Rain? Mayor Luis?
Here. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm calling, appreciate y'all being here. This is work session. Again, this is a work session. It's intended for discussion and it's informal, so no formal business will be conducted during here. No voting, no motions. And so up first during this work session, we have the fire station update. So council had the information in your packet. Keith, could you speak to the fire station? The budgeting and the plan.
Yes, sir. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we discussed, you asked me to try to come up with a rough budget that could get you started on some planning for that new fire station in the area of Brookhaven Line. We called some contractors, got you a cost per foot, what we think a new building would be, and we also looked at the site. There'd be some culverts that would need to be installed and some pavement and other items on the site. So, that gives you a good basis, it gives you an idea of what that might look like. Obviously, during design, we can adjust that and make it a larger shed or smaller. We did include kind of a brick, structure that I think would look nice in the neighborhood setting, but that's certainly something that you guys would have to arrange.
Do we have I had a rep coming from fire truck, if you don't mind, Keith, I'd like to talk to, because the fire station and the fire apparatus, I think, go hand in hand. And so, thank you, guys. So gentlemen from NAPCO are here to speak about their options.
Yes, sir. So, you asked us to give a couple options on some stock stuff that we have either in production or on the lot. So, I brought 3, so we can custom. Bumper 1,000 gallons of water, 1,500 water pump. It's $825,000. And that should be completed sometime in calendar year 27. We also have a 4-door. It is a Freightliner, 1,500 pump, 1,000 gallon water as well. It is $585,000. That will be completed as well in calendar year 27. And then I brought a 2-door international top mount, 1,000 gallons of water, 1,500 pumps. It's identical to the truck you guys purchased from us a year and a half or so ago. That is actually on premises in Decatur, Alabama. It could be delivered in a week or 2. It is $527,000.
What was the water storage?
It's 1,000 gallons of water. I did bring blueprint drawings, 3 copies of each one of those trucks. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. If you mind dropping those off with the city clerk and basically what we discuss in this meeting and then make a decision next meeting unless we need to call an emergency meeting. But we're also looking into financing for it to try to get the station and the apparatus at the same time would be ideal. That's something I've discussed with other bond agents, but we're still looking into that. So really appreciate y'all coming out. I know it was short notice.
These trucks are pre-emission, so they're good to the old EPA standard, so that'll save us some money. And we can discuss financing for the fire station and the truck together if you need that information as well. We can provide that.
Absolutely. Could you I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but could you discuss a couple of the options and then we can have a follow-up?
As far as financing goes.
Yeah.
So we use a company called First Community Lease. They finance government projects. So you can put the truck, normally they'll go 20 years, 15 to 20 years. The station, they will go longer. You can roll it all together, and once the truck drops off, your payment comes down. I got a quote about a week ago on a truck. It was about 565 or something, and we were around 5% over interest-wise. And those were annual payments for 15 years, is what that is. But if you have a dollar figure in mind, we can email the company and they'll email you back. You can make annual payments or monthly payments. You can delay your first payment up to 18 months if it's necessary. But if you got a dollar amount and kind of what we're looking at as far as financing, it'd be very simple to get your quote on that.
Oh, absolutely, and then I actually had quite a bit of communication with them with the last truck. So,
Okay.
yeah. I really appreciate it. Does council have any questions for the gentleman?
Around 5%, yeah, 5 to 5.5%.
Any other questions? This is a pretty hot topic.
So on the custom cab, about a year and some change on the custom cab, that thing was actually put into production probably a year and a half ago. And it was actually a new build from scratch. So
Fantastic.
So who needs to draw?
City clerk. Thank you all so very much. All right. So we've got a lot to think about there and a lot of pressure to think about it. So, but next up, we'll continue on with the engineer updates.
Would you like to start with sewer?
That'd be great.
Okay, so I guess the biggest thing that we've completed is we've kind of made a long-term budget and items that would be needed over the next several years. We tried to get some costs on that from contractors so we could start looking and applying for funding on that. We were able to do some appropriations, but we hope to hear some good news from them. You never know. And then per our last meeting, we kind of put those in order of those current things. And we feel like the effluent filters is probably the item that we need the most. So we're trying to kind of push forward on that design a little bit, get that a little more refined for you. And we can certainly work as fast as you want to direct us to work on that. The next step, once we get that more detailed design, would be to go out for bids and get you some real hard pricing to look at that. So we're prepared to do that at your direction.
Okay. Thank you. Really hoping to hear something good in the next month or two from Caper's office.
Absolutely.
Any questions from council about the sewer? All right. I guess water tower?
Liquid water. So again, we're still working on the mapping. Collectively, we'll help in any way. There is house people are taking the lead on that. We've also done some other budgeting and looking for those same funding sources for you in the hopes that we might get some grant help on that. So we're kind of in a holding pattern, kind of waiting on direction on which thing might go first. As soon as we hear about those funding items, we'll be ready to go. The other item that we wanted to try to accomplish this month was to reach out to Urban Water and start a discussion about an upgrade to the water contract that you have with them. As current projections in another year and a half, we would need to implement that. So it's not something that we want to wait on a whole long time. Our goal had been to try to do that with the month of May. I think that's certainly attainable, at least to open the conversation. But I suggest that might take 7 months to negotiate that contract. Most likely they're going to want to kind of get a minimum from you guys for the usage that you have so that the terms of that contract may change a little. They've already given you a rate, so we expect those to change. However, they may ask you to make a bigger minimum purchase, which we're using water, so I don't think that's detrimental.
Appreciate that. And that's, can you speak to the water tower location? We've had a lot of debate back and forth about that land and the acreage and closing the deal. And I brought that it was your recommended lot, and that you thought it would work well, but council had some questions about that.
Well, certainly that is where about 90% of the growth in the city are those larger subdivisions on the east side of, or the west side of St. Road, Brookhaven, and those areas. So, in addition to that, we're also looking at some zoning and trying to get you a little bit more balance in your system and increase those speeds, which we've already have done with the help of other people, which is what really has bridged us from where we thought we were to now. The hydraulics, the higher the less pump we have to have, but until we can get that zone, we're having a little bit of trouble filling to that level. So I think we've got a little bit of work to do even prior to that. It's still a good location. We have the volume, but those zoning things may allow us to tweak that a little bit and save some money and spend money on the
Any issues with the dirt there and moving it around to have a good solid site for the water tower?
There is a good site there that's kind of pretty, the ideal thing would be to have that at the same hydraulics level as your other tank. It helps with not having to have elevation valves, which can work, but it's a little simpler to have those in the same elevation. So we want to have that storage where we can store it at night and then it would allow us to use it. Also have pressures.
Council have any questions about that? Concerns or other issues? How many more topics? That
those are certainly the ones I prepared. I can, help give you others or answer any questions for sure.
Does council have anything else for the city engineer to address? Any questions about the fire station or layout? Thank you, Keith.
Well,
So I'll hop into a little bit of a budget class here and kind of dive into some of the basics of it, and hopefully those who couldn't be here can be here. Thank you for coming. So I think the budget has been a big topic of contention, and so I just wanted to kind of dive into the weeds a little bit. So I think the term I use often is that the budget is a plan, right? It's not anything set in stone. It's not a hard requirement. It's just trying to create a plan for the future and where the money's coming from and where it's going and how much is coming in and how much is going out. And so what the budget really does is tell the public that we have a plan with what we're going to do with their taxpayer funds. And so in Alabama, the law gives the council control over the municipal finances and the property under Code 114356. And the mayor is the chief executive officer or CEO of with general supervision and control over those funds and the affairs under Alabama 1143-81. And so the real division here is of powers is the council appropriates and sets the financial policy, and the administration executes and manages operations within that authority. Now, there was some major contention in our last special meeting about a misquote from our most recent Alabama League of Municipalities conference. And so here you can see an email from the lead attorney that actually answered that question and spoke to that. And so I'll just go ahead and read this verbatim if that's okay. Thank you for your question. In short, the council has control over the municipal finances, 114356. The mayor has certain financial duties as the chief executive of the municipality, including executing any instrument that the council has approved and providing financial statements to the council, Alabama Code 114383 and 4384. As such, the mayor and any municipal employee technically need council approval to expend municipal funds. However, it is possible for the council to give advance approval for certain expenditures. In many cases, this is a municipal budget. which lays out the expected expenditures for different offices and departments. Some municipalities may write their budget in a way that the budget itself is considered approval for the expenditures it describes. So those departments do not need to ask for approval again later in the year. Some municipalities also enact ordinances to give the mayor the authority to spend municipal funds up to a certain dollar amount. Those expenditures still need to conform to state law requirements, but they're considered pre-approved by the council. There's no requirement that this type of ordinance be in place, and the council can or appeal as it sees fit. Please let me know if you need any further information. Mary Elizabeth Dahl, Associate Counsel from the League of Municipalities. I think we have pretty much cleared that up. This was a slide before I got her email where I had playing out all the different laws that are applicable, but we can kind of skip over this now. And so let's hop into the real nuts and bolts. So budgeting is really a year-round process, but really, so it starts with setting the plan. Our biggest issue coming into all of this is we've never had the plan before, and so we don't have enough detail to like build something very accurate and detailed. So our first budget was very high level, large buckets in certain areas, just because that's the information I had to work from, pulling it from the annual audit rather than actual financials. So so you plan, talk to the department heads, talk to the vendors, figure out how much money you're typically spending and typically need. Think about any large projects you have coming. And sometimes there's there's an operational budget and a capital budget, depending on how many large projects you have going on. But for the most part, the processes are the same. So you plan it, you build it. So typically it starts with the department heads, conversation with the mayor and department heads, figure out what they need, what the upcoming needs are, and they determine what it will cost to get what they need. And the council reviews, amends, and appropriates before the fiscal year begins. And then month to month, they monitor the budget to actual and make amendments and audit and get ready for the next cycle. So again, council sets up, appropriates and sets the policy, and administration executes it and manages the daily operations within that authority. So a typical timeline for the year. So, by January, February, you're really closing the previous year. But by March, you're kind of council figuring out what their priorities for the next year are going to be. The departments start reviewing it around April and working on revenue forecasts in May. So if you had a major change, like let's say you had a Walmart that shut down or a major tax revenue position is changed, you start getting yourself ready for that. And by June, your department heads should be working to like draft requests and the items they're going to need next year. With really good budgeting, you have basically revolving vehicles and tools, right? Your car is going to last 5 years. A truck or a fire truck's going to last 10 years. And so you try to plan all of that in so that, some years you're budgeting to just put money up to be ready to make that purchase in the future year. Sometimes you're budgeting that you've got $100,000 to make that payment every year for the next 10 years. So by July, the mayor should be working on the draft. The August council member workshop should be going on, and so those are pretty heated workshops where you go over each line and really start getting the razors out and cutting those margins as thin as you can. By September, you should be adopting the budget and setting the appropriations, and then in October you start implementing it because October is the beginning of the fiscal year for most municipalities. And then from there you start monitoring the month-to-month basis. So again, when we came in November, we're already a month behind, had nothing to work from, and so we put something in place that would get us through the year, but it was a very high level budget, but it was based on actual from the previous years. All right, so again, big part of the budget is creating a plan. So we've got to set our priorities as a council. What do we want to work on? What do we care about? Is it public safety? Is it parks? Is it rec? What can we do without this year so that we can get something else that we might want? And so we just need to set our service priorities, and then we have to balance that against what we can actually fund. And I think that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a firm believer that we should be putting every penny we can back into the community because it's taxpayer money. It should be used on taxpayers and used to give services and goods to the community. But it all comes down to how much money you have, and legally we have to make sure that we have enough to cover our legal debt obligations. My goal is to take 5 years of those debt obligations and put them into some kind of revolving credit so that we can actually be earning more interest in that money, but have it if we need it, such as a 90-day CD or something where we can be earning 2 to 3% versus 1%. But the law requires you to keep up to 3 years of bond payments, but I think 5 is a safe bet in case you have a down year. In our case, development is a large income generator, but you really don't need to be budgeting on development and impact fees because those are never guaranteed. All right. So during the initial phases, when you're really trying to convert those priorities into numbers, right? We all want that splash pad. Everybody wants a splash pad. Everybody's kid loves a splash pad. But if you look at the numbers, you're like, you know what? Maybe we don't need a splash pad. Basically, the starting rate for most splash pads is about $1 million. That doesn't include the parking lot, the setup, buying the land. That's just the pumps and the concrete and a few other things. And so keep your eyes there, but I mean, it's not even ones that look like they're not much. It's a chunk of change. And then there's the unexpected cost of a splash pad that, hey, you typically can't just leave them wide open. You've got to pay someone to sit there and watch them because it is a safety hazard. And as I think I mentioned before, number 3 for elected officials is liability. And leaving a wet, slippery piece of concrete out there for anybody to run onto is a huge liability. I've talked to several of the cities that have them, and from a budgeting standpoint, it's never a fun topic because it's essentially a money pit. But if you got some money and you want to take on the liability, you just need to understand that up front, that it's not just an initial cost, that there's recurring fees as well. And so during this phase, we figure out what those priorities are. We try to really figure out what we can get out of our revenue and then line that up with our staffing that we need to achieve those goals. Come up with the operating costs, right? So every police officer needs a uniform, every fireman needs a fire uniform, and every public works employee needs boots and gear. And so I'm working to get an actual employee cost per department, but we're already pushing that back. But it's very important for you to know that, hey, when you lose someone, it has a cost. When you hire someone, it has a cost. And so, like turnover, some companies thrive on turnover, but turnover is an expensive burden on any business in any industry. And so then you have to look at our capital debt, right? So we talked tonight about the fire truck, fire station, everything else. I mean, that's a potential $2 to $2.5 million bond issuance to go after if we wanted to get that fire truck and a station at the same time. So we have to contemplate how can we afford that? Is that in the 10-year revenue, or is that just in the next 2 to 3 years revenue? And so you got to contemplate your current debt and your long-term debt. And the one thing about bonds that a lot of people don't realize, I started out early on thinking of it like a mortgage. Hey, I can pay it down early. Hey, I can take care of that. Hey, if I get extra money, I can work on some of that debt. But with bonds, you guarantee a certain amount of interest over a certain amount of time. You cannot pay a bond down early. So the moment you take it, you're locked in. Just like with the school boards and all these buildings and everything they did, they locked themselves into a 30-year cycle to get that money and spend that money. And then finally, you need to look at transfers and reserves. It's like, you've got that nice nest egg that's rolling and earning interest or doing something. And so, you want to remember you've got it there, but you don't want to intentionally spend that because that's set up there for a reason. And it's your, whether it be just the rainy day fund or whether it be substantially more like the position we're in right now. And so, most council or most budgets designed involve several special called meetings and workshops. And sometimes these are more exciting than council meetings because you're arguing with people who think about money differently. And so typically you want to have at least 2 or 3 workshops before you adopt, so that way you can really have time to digest the information. Similar to the way that we present something one meeting and wait to the next meeting to actually vote on it and take action on it, so that the council can absorb it and the people can absorb it and have a chance to talk on the topic. And so the typical council or budget review process should involve several workshops where you go through checklists. You just double check yourself, make sure your math is right, have somebody else look at the numbers. Like many different strategies here, but the workshops are very important in the process because it should be a group effort. All right. And then after adoption, this is where things get really this is what really drives most councils. Is that monitoring it, tracking it, and amending it when needed. If something comes up, hey, we want to buy a new piece of equipment. Is that in the budget? Okay, if it's not in the budget, what are we gonna do to afford it? Are we gonna cut out that new playground we wanted this year so we can buy that piece of equipment? Are we going to just dip into the reserves to pay for that piece of equipment? Like almost every council meeting I go to, there's always that one person who's like, is that in the budget? It's just a constant. And it's a constant for a reason. We're in the process of cleaning up a lot of our jail accounts and old financial processes that were not super efficient. And in doing so, like we've just got the budget to actual in, but a lot of those old accounts are really making the numbers look wild. As we continue to clean up that information, we will have more accurate reports. But if you look at the actual budget to actuals, we're pretty well in line in the base categories that were originally budgeted. And then obviously, at the end of every year, you want to do a full audit to see where you did well and where you didn't do well. Most of you probably heard that, oh, I better spend it because if I don't spend it this year, they won't give it to me next year. And oftentimes you see people who are just very inefficient with their spending because, they want to make sure they don't lose money in the following year. It's like, well, is that really the best use of money? Probably not, right? When you're spending taxpayer money, that's even more important. So again, just a 30-day push through checklist. I mean, obviously, we need to set our calendar when we start, when we're going to have those workshops, when we're going to do the different processes. It'd be great if we had some standardized forms where departments could submit their request of what they want, because like any good work session and planning process, there's going to be give and take, right? The police department's going to want $1 million, the fire department's going to want $1 million, but all you've got is $1.25 million. So you're going to have to make some cuts. You're going to have to make some people unhappy, and you're going to tell people they're going to have to wait till the next year. So, but we need to standardize the process so everybody gets treated the same, and we have traceability, because as has been said quite a bit lately, when an emergency happens and someone says, well, no one planned for that, well, we planned for it, but we just didn't have the funds. And then we can help build the monthly reporting package, so we'll determine what we want to see after the budget, once we have the budget in place, and then we can create rules for amendments, because once a budget's in place, the amendments become very important. And then obviously step 5, tying the budget to the chart of accounts. So while that seems easy, it can oftentimes be difficult depending on how detailed you get on their budget. Some cities go all the way down to, this is my paper budget, this is my pen and paper or pen and pencil budget. Like some cities are very extreme, some cities are super high level, and some cities are right there in the middle. All right, so let's kind of take a look at the city of Margaret's budget. So based on past history, our gross revenue is roughly 6.6 million. All right, and as you can see, the 3 million of that comes from governmental funds. Utility is about 3 million, and then charges, grants, and a few other categories is like easily 300,000 compared to those other two. But really, when it comes down to it, those funds need to stay for your budget. You need to make sure that those funds are consistent, right? Like water and sewer. The beautiful thing about those is you always need them, right? No one's gonna be able to go without water and or sewer. But government funds, that's where things like new laws and other things come into play. One thing we heard at the League of Municipalities, they just passed a law where, depending on a business type, you may not be able to charge a certain percent. Like, was it plumbing, sewer, HVAC? A couple other businesses now have this really weird tax loophole that it will really affect the municipality that's building a lot of houses like us. But it passed. So somebody's lobbyist did a really good job, and that takes money out of our pockets, and to be able to provide services for the city citizens. All right, so if we break down that, the 6.6 million is actually based on an internal transfer from our public utilities to the general fund. This is typically not something you want to do or plan to do, but in our case, that is our primary revenue source. And so I spoke with the auditor first week in office and just talked through it with them. And he explained that as long as you put it in your budget, plan for it, and do it accordingly, then it's okay. Otherwise, it's a problem. In the previous year, we moved about 700,000 across and called it a police holdover, or police vehicle. Basically, police vehicle capital layout. That's what it was. And but like we spent $100,000 on police vehicles that year, and so I still have not figured out what that was or what that was about. But it was a large transfer from our public works to our general fund last year. But so again, of that revenue, external operating revenues was about $5 million. So and our gross expenses were $6 million, and then obviously we had to remove that $1 million that we moved from the other department. And after external operating expenses, we basically should have come out of the year with about 82,000 in surplus, but we have approved significantly more than that this year. And so, but those expenditures were approved above and beyond the budget and not part of the budget. All right, so that's the revenue breakdown, and went too far. All right, so the expense breakdown. So basically, based on our departments, we have some pretty high expenses, and I think for the most part, most of our departments grew significantly. So our public works expense is about $2,702,000. Police is about $1.26 million. Fire is $1.19. The general governmental is about $842,000. Inspections is $258,000, and I know Mr. Barker works harder than that, but our inspections department is a real profit center in the city. And then court and admin is about $174,000, and then the parks and recreation is about $118,000. It's the budgeted expense. So some of these we're not, we're 6 months in and we've only got one part-time employee in Parks and Rec, so we're going to be under budget there. But in court and admin, we're in good shape. But this is basically the expense for running those departments. And so if we look at that operating expense minus that $1 million that we're transferring over, you can see the percentages of that breakdown. And obviously, public works, police, and fire are our heavy hitters there. Keeping in mind that on top of just the employee hourly rate, we have RSA, which is retirement insurance that we pay for coverage for employees, and then a few other additional taxes and benefits that we don't pay. All right, so again, the biggest drivers is obviously the utilities fund is the biggest ticket on there, but it's really just a transfer. Police salaries are really high, so to have the amount of officers we have, we're looking at about $529,000 a year. We budgeted for 12 full-time officers with a mix of newer officers and senior officers to help train those new officers. And then our fire salaries are $475,000. Public works and personnel they're about $372,000. Then we budgeted $250,000 for road repairs for the year. And then you can see the next part of the insurance for the other departments. So fire and health insurance is $226,000. Public works, debt service. So it's actually a big chunk. So public works and the general fund split the debt. And I'm still not sure who did the math, but public works pays the lion's share of it. And so their annual debt service is about $217,000. Again, we can't pay more, and we really can't, and definitely can't pay less. And then the general fund grant service is $195,000. And then inspection salaries, and you can see that on the list. Basically, our employees are our biggest expense, but they're also our main asset, right? Let's go back to the slide from last night. All right. I think with that, I'll check with the council. Do you have any questions, concern, or anything you want to dive in deeper about about our budget and the budgeting process? I'll just put this back up there for a minute. All right. There are no questions. I'll move on.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Not this
We're in a
time.
work session, huh?
We have public comment coming up. So, approval of minutes from the 3-2 council meeting. Has anybody got, any questions about the minutes from 3-2? All right. If there are no questions, so we'll move on to the employee abuse topic. So I've got some topics I want to cover during the regular meeting about this, but does anybody have any questions or concerns about this at this time? All right, so IT services and security camera quotes. Have we got anything, any more quotes or estimates for that? All right. Any questions about the ones we have? All right. I would like to look into Alabama Power. They actually, with the lighting services that they offer, they now offer security cameras as well that they can put on an external pole, and they actually get they can use one camera to get a really good view of the exterior of a building, where taking multiple cameras on the building to get a similar view. And so I'll try to prepare a quote from them for the next council meeting to go along with our lighting improvements. All right. Next topic is River Tree. So River Tree, you came and did this, and the information was in the last council meeting packet. There's a service to help go after tax revenue that the city has been has not retrieved or missed, or has, could be a mistake, could be someone dodging, but it's tax revenue that the city is owed. It's not going after something new. It's not creating something new. It's just making sure that we're getting what we're due. So does anybody have any questions or concerns about River Tree and or the services they provide? Okay, all right, hearing none. So I had information request to this work session and agenda because with the requests that we got from Mr. Henry and two requests that we have in the city currently, one request is based on a citizen, but it's not someone who lives in Margaret, and they're requesting information from a third-party source. They basically requested every invoice, every tool purchase, every vendor agreement, anything from the fire department from 2022 to the current day. Now, with the issue that we have in the file room, this is actually a huge undertaking. And so right now we've got two people working on it just to try to figure out estimate what it's going to take to get that information. Being that the company has used an in-state resident, we've got to fulfill the request, and so we have 2 weeks to provide them with an hourly estimate and a number of pages that it might take to fulfill the request. So that's one big request we're working on, and then Mr. Henry's request is a pretty substantial ask as well, but it should be mostly digital. Does council have any questions, concerns, or need any verification on the request? So just to reiterate, the request was to get all inter-council communication between any council members. The city attorney part, I think, there may be an exception there due to attorney-client privilege, but like basic personal devices, city devices, text messages, everything. I really think we might have to find a service to help compile this data. But if the request has been made, we have 2 weeks to give a valid response or make an effort and give an estimate for it. So for sure, nobody has any questions, concerns, or Anthony, are you familiar with any services? With the short turnaround, I haven't been able to look into services. All right. I will try to find a service that can help consolidate this information, but it's a very big footprint. But it's a very, very clear reminder that anywhere you conduct city businesses is pretty much public record. All right. All right. With that, I believe we're going to move into our public comment section. We have several people signed up. I think we'll go ahead and start with Josh Temple. You're good now?
No, I'm good. Yeah, what I need.
Okay. All right. Thanks, sir. All right. Moving on. So, Mr. Sebastian.
I just had a couple questions about your budget.
Okay.
So in there, when you were showing some of those expenses, do you have it compared to other municipalities that are the same as far as percentage-wise for spending?
And it was based on previous audits from the city. So basically I took all of the last 4 or 5 years of audits, just watched the pattern, and I tried to keep it as close to the last year as I could, because there's a certain percentage of growth. You can't just fake in line and just assume you're gonna get more money. So it's, while comparing it to another city might be good, it's really about comparing it to your previous stance, because like, if I was to try to compare to Springville, they obviously have a much larger commercial, like we have more people than they do, but they have a much larger commercial tax revenue base. And so it's really about taking your last year and keeping it within a certain threshold, but so that you're not just taking money that you don't have so that you can spend more money than you have.
I'll ask another question.
No, you're
Okay, so on build outs and everything else with the builders that y'all thought about putting a memorandum out where you stop building for now, like looking at our infrastructure and everything else?
So Anthony, do you want to address that? My understanding is that without zoning in place, the city may not have the authority to do that kind of memorandum.
Need zoning, and that's part of the 5-year plan.
So the comprehensive plan, you're planning to do all that?
Well, so right now, we are just doing the comprehensive plan. Zoning, like, you can do them together, but we are not doing them together. So when we're done with the comprehensive plan, we can review it and look into it. But like, it was not part of the original deal, but you can't do zoning without a 5-year comprehensive plan. So, you know, all right, thank you. I think, go ahead, Kevin.
No.
You're good, okay. Oh, okay, so you signed up for Brandy, okay. Yes, ma'am. Would you mind approaching?
I'm just curious if with a fire code, is it possible to apply for a grant?
So we have looked into several options there and like have not found, it would be the kind of thing that you'd think there's tons of money out there for, but we have not found anything yet. And working through the county grant program, they basically said with these types of expenditures, your best option is to seek low interest financing, either through bonds or through a loan. But that 5% for 15 years, that's what we just got out of to try to cut that from being such a, $200,000 on a $600,000 truck. So, but we are going to continue to look for opportunities in other places. But this is also the place where we can find grants for other areas like the water tower or sewer system that frees up the money that would go to those for those things, right? So if we can pay off or if we can help get funding on the sewer treatment upgrades, we can take the money that was budgeted for our plan for that and apply it towards the fire truck and our fire station. Mr. Romero? Oh, okay, Mr. Hembert.
Good evening. Gary Heimer, 1832 Summit Park Road, Queenville. And as you know, I like to start out my comments with a little throwback to the line from the song or movie. We're going to hit the Wayback Machine tonight. But important to note is today, to the day, and almost to the hour, is your 6-month anniversary of your collective ascension to your offices. That occurred right across the street at North Valley Church. So we got 3.5 more years to go. Hopefully we can all get along and get through it. So in that vein, tonight's quote is from the band Grateful Dead, from their song Trucking from 1970, and it's the last 2 lines. Lately it occurs to me what a long, strange trip it's been. I'd be lying if I said I had any of these on my dance card. And you're fighting the audience and people getting ejected. For a minute, I wasn't sure if I was at a city council meeting or a European soccer match. Then watching the council have a meltdown and thinking I was maybe going to attend a meeting of the Taiwanese parliament where the chairs would start flying. So I have a couple of questions. The first one is that of urgency. I have plans this weekend, and I'm certain that everybody who's a mother or a husband or a child might have plans this weekend. So that I can manage expectations at home, do we need to have any called meetings or emergency meetings this weekend? Super. All right. I'd like to address a couple of things that were said by various members of the council. When the council first, when the mayor first directed the removal of people from the council, somebody said, these are your people. Later in that same meeting, somebody else said those exact same words. These are your people. And I'd like to know exactly what are the criteria for being classified as your people. I'd love to hear some answers. And I ask this because the last time I checked, the most powerful document in this country, the Constitution, begins with what's called the preamble, and those first 3 words are, say it with me, we the people. All right? We are all your people, and you are our people. All right? We can't do this without you. You can't do this without us. Trying to create more division is not what we need. It's not going to serve any good. What we need is a solid example by our leaders to rise to the challenge, put our differences aside, and conduct government. All right? And that's kind of spelled out in the 8th through the 15th words of the preamble, which say, in order to form a more perfect union. Correct. And further in the preamble, toward the very end, it mentions those things we all want. Domestic tranquility, and to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. So, having said that, can anybody tell me how this division thing and you people, they people, those people, how does that work? Because it doesn't for any of us. And I'll close this with one more quote, and that is, we're living in tumultuous times, and our focus should be fighting against oppression and the injustices against us, not battling those who are on the same side of seeking justice and peace. My other point, and you brought it up, Mr. Mayor, is, as you know, I made a public records request. It was something I didn't take lightly. It was something that nobody in this building put me up to. I did it of my own free will. And I did that because I had previously hoped that we'd be able to figure out this whole challenge of, I sent the email, I sent the records, I sent whatever, I didn't get it. Oh, maybe I did it because I didn't reply to it. And to my surprise, we couldn't do that. So I did it for you. And in the interest of transparency, the records will mostly be digital, as you state. I will ask the city to establish a hash, which is an electronic code to verify that those records have not been tampered with, because I intend to publish them on the internet. And that way nobody will come to me and say, oh, you left out a couple of words on an email, or you left out this. I will ask you to hash the files, I'll publish the hashes. It's a very common process to ensure the integrity of data, and you will do it here again. My concern is that, if there's something that you've done, either in word or in deed, now is not the time to hide it or to try and destroy it. Because doing so will impose a much greater burden upon you as an individual that this council, this city can't shield you from. So, as you said, there's cost involved. And in the records request I've signed, there are costs that I will be expected to cover, and I will pay them. All right? A tenet of the government at any level is accountability and transparency. And this industry, we get either with your complicity or we'll get it by legal action. And unfortunately, it took the latter to do that. So I'll close with a quote that's frequently attributed to Mark Twain, but no real evidence exists to say that he ever said it. Politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often for the same reason.
Just to be sure, Joe, were you not? You
I'm
didn't
good with that.
Did you still want to speak, Jeff?
Ms. Love asked to speak.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Love?
Mayor, I'd like to know, who
Please,
approved that budget?
please
Who
approach
approved your budget?
this council did.
This council. Jonathan Ray, did you approve that budget that you just went through?
The council as a whole did approve the budget.
Ms. Bailey, you did too?
Approve the budget.
The budget that he just went over and all those fees that he just gave.
I don't honestly say all that was in the budget.
Ms. Davis, did you approve it? Mr. McIntyre, did you approve it? And I plan on asking James when he gets back. Okay, so
He wasn't here at that meeting.
that's okay. I'm still gonna ask him. Thank you. At the rate of what I'm looking at on that budget, how long do you think Margaret's gonna last?
The budget was based on actuals from the previous year, so I suspect we'll be
And you
fine.
were in that previous administration, I get that, You're going off of everything previous. I'm concerned with how we're doing right now and what this council is being given and what they're being approved on. And the budget that you're showing, that you can't tell me that, yeah, that was based off of a previous administration. Yeah, it was approved previously and you were a part of that administration that approved it. But tonight, instead of going through a budget 101 class that you just put me through. I'm interested in knowing what the budget is today and how much you've spent since the 6 months that Mr. Gary has applied to, asking that you've already covered half a year. We got 3.5 more years to go at the rate of what we're going. And you even said Springville has less people than we do, and we got more than them. Our budget's a lot higher than what Margaret can basically handle right now.
What are you basing that information off of?
I'm basing it off of how you fired everybody in City Hall and then turned around and rehired your own people in your, if that's what you want to call it, your people, up the pay scale and raised their income to where little old Margaret that only had a 7.2 surplus that you said at the beginning of your inauguration, and how much you just showed that's been spent on your budget that you claim everybody approved. How much longer is Margaret gonna make it? What is your end goal here?
That doesn't make any sense compared to what I showed versus what you're asking. I mean, I'll be more than happy to sit down with you and
You're
walk you
very
through it.
condescending, and I
No, ma'am.
think that is
No,
just
ma'am.
wonderful that you can play that game.
I
But
didn't.
at some point, it's gonna come to a head.
Ma'am, I think you need to understand, what I showed was not what I spent. What I showed was what the plan was. And your question did not line up. I'll be happy to sit down with you and walk you through it, show you all the reports you want to see. Like, I've sat down with many people, I've sent many people the data. The council has had all the data. So I mean, like, I may not have the number right in front of me, but what I showed was not what has been spent, but what's planned to be spent based on previous years. It's a plan, not, that wasn't the actual. And I think here, let me jump back to this one slide and I'll show you, people keep trying to talk about numbers of what's been spent, and I went through this.
So we're gonna redo the budget right now?
Ma'am, if you will, your time's up. I'm gonna cover this and then we'll
Thank
move on to the next person. We started with 6.6 million in November when I came into office. We paid $203,000 for Brookhaven between November and February, $171,000 for Dillard Park between then, $35,000 for the APAC bill that had been left overdue, and then we spent $300,000 on the fire truck. This is not all the expenses that were approved by the previous admission and or the new council, but those are the big ticket items. And so by February, we're at $5,843,000. So in 3 months, based on the income and expenses, we really hadn't moved except for that money that the council had approved either previously or during this administration. All right, and then from February 1 until April 19th, we had the other half of that fire truck, $353,000. We moved the police department office. We had some site prep, and the public works department, we added 5 employees there. So up to date, that would be about $120,000 in costs for that. We did about $30,000 in road repairs. We purchased a truck and a trailer and some additional holdover. And we just now got the final invoice for the Dillard Park Pavilion, which the total was $220 for the engineered plan, and then we had another $6,000 or $7,000 for the demolition of the previous building. So all of those costs were incurred by the previous administration, were not part of my budget, but they were, they still had to be paid. And so right now we're sitting at around 4.7 million. Now there is a difference between that 733 and that of about 300,000 to 400,000. But those numbers on the screen are also not all inclusive of what has been spent and what has been approved by council during that time. But we also the trucks that were ordered in November just arrived and it accumulated to about 150,000. But like, that's a big expenditure on the budget, but the budget is based on a year's worth of expenditures. So the income over the next 6 months will keep that pretty close. So as far as budget to actual, we are fairly in line with our income matching our outgoing, and we still have the 4.7 million in surplus. And again, paying off that fire truck, $650,000, but it saved us $160,000 in financing fees we would have paid over the next few years. And so that was in taking surplus and using it to put money, or keep money. We have also now moved about $3.5 of that $1 million into a new bank that is now paying us 1% interest on every transaction. Previously, we were paying $1,200 a month in transaction fees. So we've taken a $1,200 expense and turned it into a $4,000 income generating tool. Now, once we get all of the automatic payment stopped, all of our bills called up and figured out, and then turn off, like trying to get the government to move where they deposit the tax revenue is apparently calculus. And, but once we get all the money to stop going and being pulled from the old accounts, we will move the additional 1.7 million into the, actually, I'm sorry, 1.2 million into the new bank account, and that way we'll be getting 4,000 or more every month in interest. And so I intend to keep as much of that 4.7 million as we can as our surplus. I would like to be able to invest 3 million of it towards, which would be 5 years of 5 years of our debt expense into a revolving 90-day CD so that we can earn 100 to 160,000 a year, depending on the interest rate we lock in. So we're working on ways to actually use our money to make more money, when previously in 5 years, we earned maybe $50 in interest at our previous bank. And we had 28 bank accounts. We were paying fees on many of them. So we have essentially turned poor fiscal responsibility into attempting to like make our money make us money. And in all intents and purposes, like I would have made suggestions like that 5 years ago, but I couldn't get the information. And I was vehemently denied. I believe the term that was used quite often towards me was, as a mayor, we only have to give you 2 financial reports a year. And so I got the annual audit, and sometime in the middle of summer, I would get some random vendor payment account. So, you know, we could have been fixed in this 5 years ago, but I was, as we talked about before this, yes, stonewalled is a good answer, handcuffed, held back. And so, like, I have no problem showing everything, but you can't stand up here and make false statements when you don't have the information and or have gotten it from a bad source. Feel free to come speak to me, ask me, I'll show you, it's not a problem. I can sit down and explain it, which I have to many people. And so, but we're just starting the process of turning the city into a efficient machine that can service the people and remain resilient. And we have a long way to go. Like several good topics have been voted down out of well, I have to say, I can't explain why they were voted down, but like we need a revenue officer, we need River Tree to come find money that we've left on the table. They can go back 3 to 5 years and it'll probably be a nice payday up front and then it'll taper off over time. But we need to make sure we're getting all the tax revenue we can because we're a bedroom community. We're never going to have 1,000 commercial entities making us a ton of money, but we've got to start by finding what we can, putting in the work to get there. And that should not be just me. And I want to thank all of the city employees because they are doing tremendous work every day to get us there. And I want to invite council to come participate in it as much as they want to.
We got to March 11th, I sent you an email. You said our budget actuals were where they're supposed to be. March 11th, I included an email to you, the city clerk, both city attorneys, and the whole council requesting budget to actual and 13 other things related to finances. And what is today? May the and we still don't have them.
Well, and that was like a day or two after you voted down a resolution to fix our chart of accounts. And that was a day or two after you voted down consolidating our bank accounts. And that's what I told you.
Voted down, actually.
You tabled it 6 months, and I then told you just as much. I said, you have all the raw data to put the report together yourself, but you voted down me getting the help we needed to get it done efficiently. You did not participate or try to participate in that planning process.
We can't keep spending money that's not allotted for the budget. You keep writing shit that's not approved, and so we got to slow down a little bit.
You were contradicting yourself. Well, you interrupted me because I never gave you the floor.
Who approved to move the account?
The moving of the accounts is within the mayor's authority. I was trying to involve council.
And who signs the checks? Just the mayor by himself?
Mayor, city clerk, and then the,
We don't have a city clerk. You're still trying to hire
ma'am,
people.
if you continue to like insult the employees, I'm gonna ask you to leave. So, up next, Mr. Newell. No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Brian Newell. I'm the Christian Conservative Army retired combat veteran running for the Alabama House of Representatives Republican primary. I served my country for over 22 years, deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times, and I'm not a politician. I believe that we, the people of Alabama, especially the 50th district, needs real representation. A government of patriotic citizens, not career politicians or entitled bureaucrats that act as getting elected to the Alabama House as a ticket to the country club. We need a representative of the people, for the people, by the people. Someone that lives with the values of loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. That's why I'm running. In 2024, I ran against Mike Rogers for U.S. Congress. Even though I lost the primary, 5 of the 6 issues that I ran on was addressed through executive action. Someone was watching. So now, just imagine what I can accomplish if I got elected. After that run, I wiped my hands clean and I focused on Alabama. So now, here's some of the things that I want to try to accomplish. My first priorities will be our infrastructure. You know, repairs and upgrades, including before 11, and rural broadband access that attract the industry. Prosperity for Alabama. I'm being a champion for St. Clair County, promoting our region to every company considering relocation or expansion. An advocate for our veterans. There's no better advocate than a veteran themselves. Some of these things, and also education. Be an advocate for our trade schools and technical education because these skills can be replaced by AI or automation. Some of y'all have seen how much money is being spent these last for this election. It's ridiculous. A lot of money being spent on commercials, flyers going out to the mail, and most of these are going up against or being supported by out-of-state casinos, organizations, sports betting alliance, syndicates, and a lot of dark money that is out there because all they want to do is get their foot in the door of our next election and be able to influence some of our state legislation. So, I am going to go ahead and put it out there. Yes, I am for a lottery, but I am not for outside casinos or sports betting alliances or any kind of syndicate that wants to get their tentacles wrapped around our state house and be able to influence any of our legislators. So I'm just letting people know, go out there. Alabama needs a renewal, so on May 19th, vote for renewal for the Alabama House of Representatives District 50. Thank you.
I wanted to add, because I see everybody's kind of contentious about this time, about the budget, and so, but what Brian would be doing at the State House is he's going to be the one looking for money to bring into these cities that need the money, especially. Everybody's been talking about the road tax, the roads need to be improved, the infrastructure, all of that. And that is what we would send Brian to Montgomery to be in the governor's ear and get on the 5-year plan and also be looking for any other kind of funds, any other kind of grants. Because I know everybody in here seems like it's got a little bit of grant writing experience, and it's actually very difficult. I was going to say, if there's somebody rich that needs a street named after them, it'd probably be a lot easier to get the roads fixed that way. But, what I was going to say is that I know the budgets that you've explained, this is just what your operating budget is right now, but the funding that we're looking for is somebody that actually is going to go to Montgomery and make sure that they bring more money and more funding, and then also go to Washington, D.C. and bring money to Washington, D.C. because we need more than $1 million to get things done. We need $250 million. We need $500 million. We need a lot of things to get things done in these cities. Although these cities may seem to be small, they are mighty and they do need a lot of work. And so, but I was just going to say this about Brian.
So if anybody needs to talk to me right after this, please do, because I'll be here until the last person leaves if they want to go in depth of what my plans are of being able to influence the direction that we need to go with a lot of these things.
Mr. Palm, did you want to say something? Did you want to say something earlier?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I did have a question. Budget's not approved or anything, and you guys continue to
kind of discuss that internally, have a problem with that. Do we have a timetable on how long does the council deliberate, on how long it will take to consolidate accounts? I'm not familiar with moving that large amount of money, but I'm fairly certain it shouldn't be months at a time to deliberate and get that done.
So, basically, the new accounts have been created. It's just a matter of getting the auto pays all stopped and to make sure that any auto deposits are like the source is found and that they're moved to the new accounts. Because, and so, but the budget, just to make sure we're clear, the budget was approved in November, and so we have started the new process. But the bank account transaction, it's been going about a month now. It's taken longer than expected to like get those accounts moved because we had to get access to the state agencies, and then basically it turned out we had two different accounts, and we don't know why. So we got access to one, and we were having trouble because we didn't see the majority of the deposits. And so then we found out that we have another account. And so we're basically, a lot of the stuff we're dealing with, and the remaining things that are issues on our budget to actual report, are each one of them is a mystery. It's not a matter of saying, oh, that's XYZ, we know we need to move this over here. It's like, why is that there? And we have to spend time investigating how it got there, why it's there. And like there are many transactions in the month of September, many new accounts were opened. Like a lot of impact fee accounts were opened. It's like they were trying to fix stuff before we came in, and it created mass chaos in QuickBooks. And so there's 1.4 million was in a special, it was like a deposit fund. It was like a bank, but it wasn't a bank, but it wasn't actually a GL account. And so it wasn't showing up until I ran the budget to actual, and I'm like, what's this 1.4 million sitting out here? So like the cleanup is really, we need to hire an accountant. I mean, that's really where we're at.
That's
yeah.
one more question. So with this, it is excess amount of money. I don't know what the budget was. I think necessary to see it stand on side. Do we have an allotted salary for a treasurer or accountant, any such, or do we have any motions moving forward to have that job posted anywhere to the side of the description?
Well, so we approved 2 job descriptions for the city clerk. Was that two meetings ago? Oh, I know, it's not an accountant, right? But so I guess the simple answer is no, not for an accountant, but we have received quotes for forensic audits, but like council tabled that or would not take that up, and so it's still sitting there. But the forensic audit would not be doing what we need, and I believe the revenue officer position I originally proposed would have been able to help some. That's really as much accounting as it is inspections, and I was hoping for some help there, but that position was shot down. And then, but we do have professional services budgeted that could probably cover the hiring of an attorney. I'm sorry, not attorney, hiring of a accountant to help clean stuff up. And I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like that would make council feel better if it was somebody else helping fix the situations. I just know like cities like Leeds, they've had an accountant full time at Leeds since swearing in ceremony. And that can be a very expensive proposition, especially in a situation that I feel like we're in. But I mean, at this point, I'll take all the help I can get.
Also, do we have any predicted job growth or commercial growth? Because I know you said that we probably won't be able to match the cities surrounding us. So what is our compromise to increase our budget so that we're no longer trying to stay stationary, but trying to actually increase the money?
So my core plan is base economic development. I've been trying to push through getting the council to like purchase and or trade for these 2 lots next to us. Economic Development Council of St. Clair County actually did a grocery study. They got a grant to do grocery studies for all the cities around us, and they estimated a 25,000 square foot grocery store that would do well sitting there. But we've been unable to get past that deal and close the deal on the land. And so getting the grocery store is like the cornerstone and the like foundation of any good economic development, right? They see the numbers of how much a grocery store does a month, and so they determine whether they can afford to come to your town based on the numbers that the grocery store does. And the 250,000 square foot store, I have to go back and look. I feel like it would have been 300,000 to 400,000 in tax revenue from what I remember from the study, but obviously I have to share it with you and take a look at it and talk about it. It is kind of a race, right? Like if Argo gets a grocery store before us, then we're not getting one. And so there is a pretty tight race, but and if they get the grocery store, that means, obviously we'd be going there and investing more money into their city. Also, getting the grocery store is the next piece, right? It's like, you get this, that then points you to the next. And, I just completed, not so much commercial development, but I just completed the Yeartown, Alabama course. And like, I mean, it was excellent in economic development and like that long-term thinking of how you fix the problems that your community has and like plan for, many options, right? And so we're seeking many opportunities, but with the disconnect, it's hard to get those things pushed across the line.
Also, I'm not sure we'll have, has the council reviewed the amount of money that we take for third party like River to find extra generated revenue, and also are we possibly looking to generate revenue through the residential build outs or the impact that Alabama Power has? Like, have we charged them for any of the? So how does their involvement in our town help us?
Okay, so we have two things there, and if you don't mind, we'll move on to the next questions. But so River Tree, they're basically, it's almost like a paid service. Like they said they would take money from the revenue they get us, and if there's no revenue to add, they probably wouldn't even bill us at all. So they said they average about 15% of what they find is their charge. So if they find $100,000, they'll get 15,000. If they find $1 million, 150. So they it's like you don't pay till they collect. And mentioning Alabama Power, that was one of the things that they kind of told us about without mentioning any company names. They said a lot of these big companies may not be paying their fair share. And so they do, when they're auditing, they come in and say, well, y'all added 15 new homes, your franchise fee does not reflect that. So you're getting 180, you should be getting 200. And so they do a good audit of the large businesses as well. But speaking of franchise fees, that's one place where we're really missing the ball and missing a lot of opportunity. I spoke with the former city attorney a couple of weeks ago during court, and he told me that basically we need to be seeking franchise agreements with every service provider in the city charter. What is it now? It's still like, so basically the city is paying like $1,000 to $1,200 a month in internet for multiple different locations. And I mean, we turned off cable TV and several of the services that we couldn't figure out why we were paying for a city hall $250 a month for cable TV. We really don't have no idea why we were paying that. But if we get the franchise agreements with those utilities, they should give us the services for free as part of the arrangement. We should be getting more set income from them because we now have the contract of how much we should be getting from them. And if we're really good at negotiating, we can get them to give free internet to the school, so try to get back to our local resources. And so I'm pursuing that. I'm trying to get copies of franchise agreements from other cities so that I can see how they do it, what they do, and who to contact to try to get the ball rolling. But it's one of the things, there's 1,000 places where we're leaving money on the table, and until we start asking questions and doing the work to get it, it's going to stay there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Kevin, are you ready?
Yeah, I do have a question. You brought up something I wasn't thinking about. You said something about the potential development of a grocery store. You also said that there was an issue with obtaining the land. What's that issue?
So the deal that's contingent is that the city would accept ownership of 4 or 5 roads in exchange for the land, basically. So it'd be, I'm not gonna call it a clean swap, but we'd have to take care of these roads in the future for accepting land. Mr. Barker has been working on quotes for that to see how much that cost might be, but there's not a requirement that we would have to repair them all immediately. But Jeffrey Wilson Drive is one of those, and it is one of our busiest roads, and it needs a significant amount of work.
So that's the hurdle.
That's the difference. We could either offer to pay $220,000 for it or accept the roads, and which just trying to minimize the direct out-of-pocket cost.
Gotcha. All right. And I ask because, as you know, I'm part of the planning committee that we formed recently. We've talked about a lot of things for the future of the city, which is exciting. It's very exciting. A lot of things being some sort of an anchor grocery store, that sort of thing. And I know that we're having a public forum
May 12th.
Across the street, North Valley Church. I don't know if anybody knows that or not. But my concern is that, and maybe I should have done this already, being part of this committee, is getting
stonewalled or stopped by a council that doesn't want to see us grow or flourish. Hopefully that's not the case, and I guess we're going to hear more, especially from our residents on May the 12th when we start talking openly about what we're foreseeing for the future of our city, which I think is incredibly important. But I was really curious. I never asked you directly about the land acquisition and what's stopping us from doing that now, but it makes perfect sense. So that's really all the questions I have.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, I believe that's everyone who contacted beforehand, and a few extras. All right, if there's no one else, we will adjourn this. Actually, does council have anything they want to discuss before we adjourn the work session? All right, if not, we'll adjourn the work session and we'll take a brief 5-minute break, and then we'll come back to the regular council meeting.
We'll get us there.
Yeah. You did. Oh my God, so. Yeah, I see it.
What's up, troublemaker? Oh my God, you're here. I love Lake Road. We're getting to know each other. All right, brother. We're feeling each other. Here's a one.
Yes. Yeah.
What if I? I used for Saturday. I do on the weekends, so so that's going south. We ran into presentation I don't even know. Like, yeah. Here's the giving it a budget. Eric and Danielle. We come out here and we'll have a hat in our head. We can't even carry our stuff. We're having to make double charges. So yeah, we all went to the same plan. I'm thinking this with me. I'm not good at here, so hold up. She actually liked it. So you saw it. I kind of thought you might. There's about a month before
All right. On this City of Margaret City Council meeting to order, time is 7:22. If you would, Mr. Harper, would you mind opening this prayer?
Also pray for our president, his advisors, and just pray that you give them strength, wisdom, and direction. Also lift up this mayor Pleasant to you now. We just pray that the decision that you made will be pleasing to you. And we just thank you for loving us, thank you for your grace and Christ.
To remain standing, we're going to say a pledge. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, we'll do a roll call vote. Here. First order of business is a approval of the council meetings from the 3-2 meeting. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the 3-2 council meeting. Councilwoman Smith-Davis makes a motion to approve the minutes from 3-2. Looking for a second. Marquez Bell seconds the motion. Any discussion? All right, hearing no discussion, roll call vote.
Councilperson Bell? Yes. Councilperson McIntyre? Councilperson Davis? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Ray? Sorry. Treasurer Reed?
Yes. All right. Next topic on the agenda is the employee abuse. And based on the depth of this and the pattern of abuse, I believe it's only best that we, as a council, like not have anybody in a position of authority that has this level of, or this depth of history and of issues with employees. So based on that, I would like to entertain a motion to remove Councilman Ray as mayor pro tem. Looking for a motion to,
Don't you have to get the chair up for my motion?
I said I'm looking for a motion. Thanks.
Motion is lost. Since you didn't get a second, it's lost.
Ma'am? Please come to order. All right. Hearing no motion, I'll continue on. The next related issue is a issue of censure. So without removing him, the censorship resolution to censure Councilman Ray addresses the conduct itself. The censure is not removal from office. It's not criminal finding. It's not just suspending the voting rights. It's just a formal public statement by this governing body that certain conduct is unacceptable and inconsistent with the standards expected from an elected municipal official. The proposed resolution 2026-0504 would establish staff contact restrictions intended to protect employees, preserve the chain of command, and prevent intimidation and interference, and maintain orderly administration of city business. I mean, if we can't control ourselves as council members and be respectful, then how can we maintain decorum among the crowd? So, in the public. So, I've got a resolution, and essentially, I'll read through it now, and we can deliberate. This resolution censuring Councilman Jonathan Ray, establishing corrective expectations for council conduct, restricting direct staff contact, and protecting the orderly administration of city business. Be it resolved by the City Council of Margaret as follows. Whereas the City Council of the City of Margaret is responsible for conducting public business of the city in lawful, orderly, and professional and transparent manner. And whereas elected officials may disagree, debate, criticize, ask questions, and request information, vote independently, and express differing views on matters of public policy, whereas such disagreements must be conducted without intimidation, threats, physical confrontation, disruption of municipal operations, or interference with employees performing their assigned duties. And whereas the city has received written complaints and concerns from city employees regarding alleged confrontational conduct, interference with employees, and disruption of the city operations involving Councilman Jonathan Ray. And whereas concerns also have been raised regarding direct contact with city employees outside the established administrative chain of command, and whereas the mayor has reported firsthand incidents involving the aggression, confrontation, yelling, finger pointing, close physical proximity, and intimidation, conduct of the mayor believed to be the period intended to provoke a physical altercation, whereas the council finds that the individual council members do not possess unilateral authority to direct, supervise, reprimand, intimidate, discipline, or control city employees outside lawful action of the governing body and establish administrative procedures. And whereas the mayor is responsible for the general supervision and administration of city affairs, except as otherwise provided by law. And whereas the city council finds the orderly administration of municipal government, barring clear boundaries between legislative oversight and day-to-day employee supervision. And whereas the council further finds that formal public censure is appropriate to condemn such conduct inconsistent with the standards expected of an elected municipal official and to establish corrective expectations going forward. So now, therefore, the city council formally censures Councilman Jonathan Ray for the conduct inconsistent with the standards expected of an elected municipal official, including but not limited to confrontational and physical intimidating conduct toward city officials, alleged confrontational conduct toward city employees, interference and attempted interference with employees outside the established chain of command, disruption of city operations, failure to maintain proper decorum in matters involving city business, and conduct that undermines the professional and orderly administration of municipal government. The censure constitutes formal public condemnation by the council of this behavior. The resolution does not remove Councilman Ray's of office. It does not suspend his voting rights. It does not impose criminal penalty, and it does not make a criminal finding. This resolution does not prevent Councilman Ray from attending, participating, in debating, or voting in duly noticed meetings in the city council. This resolution is a legislative expression of formal condemnation and corrective direction by the governing body. Restrictions on direction of staff conduct. Effective immediately upon adoption of this resolution, Councilman Ray shall not directly confront, reprimand, question, direct, command, instruct, pressure, intimidate, or otherwise interfere with any city employee concerning that employee's job duty, work, performance, assignments, departure, department operations, records, scheduling, or administrative responsibilities except through lawful action of the city council or through the procedure stated in this resolution. All requests by Councilman Ray for employee action, staff information, department work, operational follow-up, meetings with employees, records, explanations, reports, or administrative assistance shall be submitted to one of the following as appropriate: the mayor, the city clerk, the city attorney, or the applicable department head, only when authorized by the mayor or city attorney. Councilman Ray shall not bypass the mayor, city clerk, city attorney, or department head to obtain action from rank and file employees. Section 5, restrictions on employee meetings and physical access for staff-facing purposes. Councilman Ray shall not initiate private one-on-one meetings with city employees concerning city business, employee performance, employee conduct, department operations, complaints, investigations, personnel matters, or administrative assignments unless the meeting is approved in advance by the mayor or city attorney. Any approved meeting between Councilman Ray and a city employee concerning the city business shall include one of the following: the mayor, city attorney, and city clerk, applicable department head, and other person designated by the mayor or city attorney. Councilman Ray shall not enter employee-only workspaces, offices, clerical areas, police, fire, administrative areas, or other non-public operational areas for the purpose of confronting, questioning, directing, or pressuring employees. And this section does not restrict access to the public areas of City Hall during normal public business hours or access required for attendance at duly noticed public meetings. Section 6, removal of staff from staff-facing assignments and non-statutory roles. Councilman Ray would hereby be removed from any non-statutory liaison assignment, committee assignment, staff-facing role, departmental assignment, or any other informal oversight role that would involve direct interaction with city employees, department heads, and contractors, vendors, or administrative staff on behalf of the city, unless later restored by formal vote of the city council. Councilman Ray shall not represent himself as having supervisory authority over any city employee, department head, contractor, vendor, or administrative function unless specifically authorized by formal action of the city council by law. Chain of command and administrative communication. All elected officials are reminded and directed that no individual council member has unilateral authority to supervise, direct, discipline, reprimand, intimidate, or control city employees. Council members' requests for information or action shall be handled through the mayor, city clerk, city attorney, or department heads, and any formal actions of the council as appropriate. Nothing in this resolution prevents the council member from asking questions during a public meeting, requesting agenda items, or requesting records through lawful procedures, communicating with the mayor or city attorney, or participating in legislative oversight through the governing body. Prohibition against retaliation or intimidation. Councilman Ray shall not retaliate against, threaten, intimidate, pressure, confront, attempt to influence city employees, department heads, etc. As witness, complaint, or person who has made the complaint, provided a statement, witnessed an incident, participated in a review, or cooperated with the city regarding the matters addressed in this resolution. Any alleged violation of this section shall be immediately referred to the city attorney for review and recommendation. In section 9, future violations. If Councilman Ray violates the restrictions or corrective expectations stated in this resolution, the matter may be referred to one or more of the following as appropriate: the city attorney, outside counsel, legal municipalities, Alabama ethics, the district attorney, the attorney general, law enforcement, or any other authority with proper jurisdiction. Council may also consider additional lawful action, including further censure, removal from non-statutory assignments, referral for investigation, adoption of additional conduct policies, and other remedies available by the law. Section 10, direction by the city attorney. The city attorney is hereby directed to review the matters described by this resolution and provide recommendations to the council regarding any additional lawful action needed to protect city employees, preserve municipal operations, prevent interference with administration, and establish appropriate standards of conduct for elected officials. The city attorney is further directed to prepare a review of both council conduct, decorum, and staff conduct policy for consideration at a future meeting, and preservation of rights and public duties. Nothing in this resolution shall be construed to prevent the councilman from performing lawful legislative duties, including attending meetings, participating in debate, making motions, seconding motions, voting, requesting agenda items, or communicating without constituents. Nothing in this resolution is construed as to limit lawful public records access, lawful speech, or lawful participation in municipal government. The restrictions in the resolution are intended to protect city employees, preserve the chain of command, prevent intimidation or interference, and maintain the orderly administration of city business. And so in section 12 is that this resolution should be entered into the official minutes of the city council of the city of Margaret. And there's an effective date if it's passed. This resolution is critical in declaring that we as a governing body are willing to be respectful, responsible, and not use our positions for employee intimidation. I mean, it's really just a statement that we as a governing body respect the positions, respect the employees, and respect our positions. Because if we cannot maintain decorum up here, how can we expect the public to maintain decorum, and how can we expect business opportunities when we are setting a terrible example? And so this is just basically a way to put all that in writing, that we support council members behaving properly, not abusing employees, and taking our responsibility serious. So I'll be looking for a motion to adopt this resolution.
Thank you.
All right, Councilwoman Smith Davis made the motion to adopt resolution 2026-0504. I'm looking for a second.
Come on.
Do what's right.
Hearing your second, I'll second the motion. Sam? Ma'am? You're out of order, ma'am. I know I can say it.
No, you can't.
Ma'am, one more interruption, I'm going to have to leave. Ma'am, yes, no. All right. All right, we're at the discussion. Any discussion about this resolution?
It's okay for the city employees. 2 weeks ago, the city clerk yells at me and Councilman Chapman for no reason. Tells us she doesn't work for us and points her fingers at us. 2 months ago, the fire chief stood us in the back of the room and yells abruptly at all of us. We wasn't even speaking to neither one of them when this incident happens. But then in turn, you can't control the employees, so you want to turn your focus on us, and you want to hide everything that you do at the end of the day within the criminal person. Because we bring up your faults and your wrongdoings, so now we're the ones that we're causing the problems. When you can't control the original problems and they escalated to your employees being out of control. I mean, what city employee tells elected officials they don't work for them? I mean, really? I mean, I know you helped her campaign at the end of the day and you want to bring her in, and that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. However, the target is now on us, but you don't want to accept responsibility for your actions being in the mayor's seat. Just like the fire chief when he yelled for no reason at us. You gave him 2 days off with pay, but that's okay. That's okay. No, it's okay for them to abuse us, and we don't even speak to them. We don't even speak to them when we come to City Hall. But now you go to them and say, I need you to write this up. Video evidence don't lie. So I mean, you can have all these write-ups at the end of the day. But video evidence and witnesses will always be key. Always be key. So, just like the city attorney said, he didn't even know about some of this stuff. Some of these writers. You coach these people when they're writing this stuff. I'm going to coach these people. They're good people. We understand. It's fine. But now you want to target me. That's fine. That's fine. But wrongdoing will always come to light at the end of the day. Always.
Amen. Amen.
Your actions and treatment and spreading false information about these employees in an alleged attempt to elicit these reactions. Your intimidation, your threats, your following people, stalking people at their homes, and all of these behaviors that you've done, like culminate unfathomable damage to the employees and morale here. So you can't attack an employee in a council meeting by citing a lie about them and then act offended. You can't incite people's fear and or concerns for their job. You can't throw busy work at people just to try to be mean to them and then sit up here and act like you're innocent. This history going all the way back to 2018 is a pattern of behavior that is unacceptable for an elected official. And I'm not done talking. Would you please do not interrupt me again? I'm talking. I'll let you speak. This pattern is untenable and unacceptable, and the public sees it, and everyone else is aware of it. Like, this is not isolated to city council, but we're only here to address what happens at city council. Like, I was told that I needed to control the crowd, but how am I to control the crowd when a city council member is just blowing the forum out of the water every chance he wants because he's not getting his way? This is not about, see, again, you cannot hold your tongue. Sir, if you interrupt me again, I'm going to ask you to leave. Sir, it's on your order. You like to say it, but you can't take it. You like to, all right, sir, please have him removed. Okay, never mind, I understand that for the moment. If you don't come to order, I'm telling you to come to order. Your disrespect and your continual interruption cause dissension among the council. Ma'am, it's your last warning, ma'am. It's your last warning. Your continual disrespect and condescension is a problem, and it causes all of these issues within our community. And it paints a terrible light on this city. And so with that, ma'am. All right, calling for a roll. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I was gonna say, I think that some of this is outlined, I mean, I think it pertains to each of us,
Absolutely.
not just one specific person. So, in a sense, I mean, I think we all should be held accountable in the same way. So, I don't wanna say it's just one person or the other, whether it's one person that has a repeated pattern. Again, all of this most of this pertains to each of us. So I do think that we should each be held to the same standard for that. However, if we cannot conduct ourselves as adults and we cannot speak to people in an acceptable manner, then we should not be allowed to speak to them. You know, when it's just us or someone else. I don't feel like we should be telling anybody what to do. That's not our job. We shouldn't be demanding anything of anybody, aside from ourselves or you as the mayor. So that's, my thing is each employee here should be protected, and this is the way to do it. And I think all of us should be held to some extent to these things that you listed, but just in hearing different, people speak, or even past employees that were here that are no longer here and they left, and just things that they have said. Unfortunately, I don't feel like Councilman Ray should have direct access to employees. That goes for any of us that cannot conduct ourselves in a professional manner to any of them. So that's what I want to do.
The same person that just spoke that is the person that called me a coward in front of children, senior citizens, adults, and everything.
Because that person is not yelling at me.
Nobody spoke to you at all. Everybody here at this table.
There were witnesses.
God remained speechless. I continued right out the door. No one spoke to anybody. So let's all hold each other accountable.
No wonder that you can't get anything done in this town. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous. This is my first meeting because of him.
Please, come to order. I will.
This is ridiculous.
So,
Margaret is in dire need.
So, to Samantha's point, this resolution is the council saying that the behavior that we have seen in person, the behavior that we have seen in this council chamber is unacceptable. And this is about keeping us, to your point, holding all of us to a standard and holding all of us to be respectful. Because every opportunity that comes before this city, the first place they look is at the council. And so when there are opportunities that come to the city and they see the dysfunction, it hurts us every time. We think this behavior gets a result, but it does not, and it is unacceptable to be held in city council chambers. Using special meetings as weapons, all of these tactics are just unacceptable. And so, if there's nothing else, I'll call for a roll call vote. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not on my assignment, but I'm just saying. Some things that we do have to read about it. If you look at it, they're saying that some things that, now he may should not be ill, but you have been called an idiot. And he's a man, another man is called an idiot, and he's supposed to, when they call him an idiot.
So,
That's what it's saying, I'm going up the same, that's what you got.
so
That's what it's saying.
when you witnessed him, he rushed me, yelled at me, scream in my face, and bumped me with his chest, was that acceptable?
Well, the thing about it, both of them.
Yes or no?
So don't think you're wrong. I don't need everybody to answer me, yes or no. I'm
Everybody.
present, so let me just say what I thought. Both of them are good, so whether one, one more than the other, they both were good. So we point fingers at one, but they both were yielding. That's true. They both did.
I can,
So, that's true. So both of them did. One didn't do it no more than the other. That's true. Now, did Councilman Ray yell out and the mayor, he did, but they both were yelling. Yes. They both were. We're being one side.
no.
We're being one side.
So,
So they both were yelling. It wasn't one no more than the other. So if this ordinance was or wasn't it should be put in.
so I came into the room,
One person.
I came in the room to defend Samantha as he was yelling at Samantha. And as I came into the room, the attack turned on me, and I did not move. I had my hands behind my back. He rushed at me.
That's not true.
That's what my tax dollars is.
Both of them were yelling, so that was there. Both of them yelling. Both of them.
I do not take a man yelling at a woman lightly.
Hey, you just yelled at me yesterday. You just yelled at me in the
You don't do no wrong.
Yeah. You did. And you was this close to my face.
Like, there were witnesses in the room,
And me
and
and Kelsey chatted when he get up and called there, and he was nosing nose with it.
You was in my face yelling at me.
That's the reason why you can't get anything done.
That's what we did. Yes, you have. And I didn't come out here and make a big deal about it. I didn't say anything about it. I was walking around and stuff. Yes, you did. But this is one side. No, we can't go along because we keep yelling at each other. And no one upset. Nobody wants to tell the truth. One person do something, hide their hand, the next person do something, hide their hand. That's what happened. As about the email, Councilman Ray sent us an email March the 11th. He did send us an email. There was no response. He sent it again when we had a special meeting, and then all the response came. That's what happened.
Come on.
So let's just be honest about it. Stop putting people at each other, and let's be honest about it. Now, let's just talk about when we all campaign, when we all not on the same page. But all of a sudden, something changed when everybody would get on the same page. That's what happened. That's exactly what happened.
so
No, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the truth. When we all campaign, did we all not campaign together? And I'm sure people that sit out in the audience saw us together. There were meetings that were called, and we was all there together. Why? Because we was all talking about the same thing. But the moment that we did not agree with one thing that Matt said, well, Matt Teresa said, it was an issue. Let's just be honest about it. Why do you think there's 90% of the councilmen on one side, and then there's one council person with the mayor? Let's be honest. Yeah.
So
We all
So
are
do you
Eric,
want
no.
I'm gonna stop. Call this door. Stop. So, please come to order. Come to order. Please come to order.
But let's just be honest and talk about
This-
it.
this-
You all sent text messages back and forth about me.
Wait,
You
wait.
gave out praise. You didn't.
Okay. Come to order. This resolution, This resolution is not about inter-council communication.
But I'm not up here throwing it back.
Please come to order.
But you all.
Please come to order.
I don't have to be quiet. Don't teach me in that firm by telling me to shut up. If you don't reference your wife, don't reference.
Everybody come to order.
I have nothing disrespect to you, so don't.
Please come to order.
And that's just it.
Please come to order. Please come to order. This resolution is not about inter-council communication. This resolution is about public, or interactions with the staff. This is not about, nothing in here says talking to each other. This is about decorum and interacting with the staff. So roll call vote.
Yes. I mean, no. What we vote on this resolution? No.
Councilperson McIntyre,
No, if it's not for all of us, no.
Councilperson Davis. This is for all of us, which is what I said. Only if it's for all of us.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Ray.
No.
I'm going to say yes, and then in this case, I'm looking for a motion to modify resolution 2026-0504 to include all council members.
I'll make the motion.
Councilwoman Samantha Davis makes the motion. Do I have a second?
So everybody's gonna be citizen?
In the way that we speak to employees.
How are you gonna run day-to-day operations?
How you gonna do that?
And because we can talk to them, we don't have to degrade them, we don't have to.
It's enough
That don't make
interaction.
sense.
It's enough interaction. So I have a motion, looking for a second.
Includes the mayor.
It said all council members.
And the mayor?
The mayor's part of the council.
But I am the,
Please,
I think we need to move on.
okay.
we have a motion on the floor.
No.
And looking for a second.
So you're saying we need to move on?
No, we've got a motion, I'm the chair, we've got a motion on the floor, looking for a second.
What do you advise?
Not- Hearing no second, I'll second the motion to have this apply to all regular council members.
You should move on.
We got a second, so discussion.
That's what I'm discussing. That's, what do you advise us to do? Move on? Okay.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Calling for a roll call vote if there's no discussion.
So you need us to vote no or move on? Yeah, I guess, period.
Councilperson Bell.
No.
Councilperson McIntyre.
No.
Councilperson Davis. Mayor Pro Tem Ray.
No.
Mayor Teresa.
Yes. So we modified it to the council's request and it's still died. So moving on, it's order of business. IT services and security camera quotes. For your packet, you had the quotes. So we, about 10,000 and some change for the additional security cameras, but like I mentioned before, I'd like to see what Alabama Power can do. I do believe the Southern Software had a pretty good quote of about $100 an hour for regular IT support. Any questions, comments, or motions to be made? And we'll move on to the next order of business. So River Tree, we all had the packet from River Tree for the hiring them for their services, seeking tax revenues that the city has not collected. Do I have a motion? Is there a motion for hiring River Tree to pursue tax revenues?
I'll make the motion, I think.
Okay. Davis made the motion to hire River Tree. Do I have a second?
It's free money.
Hearing a second, I'll second the motion. So we have a motion second to hire River Tree to seek tax revenue. Any discussion?
It's money that's up on the table, that will go to the city. I don't have a clue. Other things, I don't know why it would be.
Yes, it's seeking revenue so that we can apply more services to the community. All right, hearing no other discussion, roll call vote.
Davis? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Ray?
Yes.
Yes. Mayor Teresa?
Next order of business is the information request. So again, we have two information requests on the table. The first information request I discussed about getting all fire invoices, vendor payments, and any fire-related information going back to 2022 to the present really points out a need for a solution to digitize these documents so that we don't have to go back and try to find information. I can bring a quote to the next meeting with some software solutions that could help digitize our council packets. Does anybody have any ideas, options, or other software they'd like to see or hear from?
I'd just like to get those emails answered from March 11th first.
All right. All right, so second information request, Mr. Hemmer's request. So we've got to get all inter-council communications, and let's go back to September, so even the previous administration. Personal communication between the former council members, current council members, any communication between one or more, and digital on personal or city devices, and personal or city email, and personal text, and pretty much any communication between two council members from September to today. I haven't had time to investigate options for doing this, but I think Mr. Hemmer mentioned the hashtag, and I'll look into that, but I think we might need the city attorney to look into some options for software solutions to do this, because it's going to be a substantial task, and for your advice here. In the meantime, if city council would really compile emails and get information out, Mr. Hemmer would be I'm happy to get it. All right. Anything else? A second. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.